death filling my nostrils. Can I ask what? You cannot. There were plenty of other important things I neglected during this time of feverish subterfuge. That summer, I allowed my 9-year-old to spend so many hours watching a gory nature series called Animal Fight Club that he began to ram me at my desk like a great white shark. I did not spend nearly enough time with my octogenarian parents, who live a mere half-hour's drive away, despite their statistical vulnerability to the deadly pandemic that was rampaging through the globe, and despite that lethal heat dome. In the fall, my husband ran for office in a national election. Though I did go on a few campaign trips, I know I could have done more. I engaged in all of this neglect so that I could, what? Check her serially suspended Twitter account, study her appearances on Steve Bannon's live streams for insights into their electric chemistry, read or listen to yet another of her warnings that basic health measures were actually a covert plot orchestrated by the Chinese Communist Party, Bill Gates, Anthony Fauci, and the World Economic Forum to sow mass death on such a scale it could only be the work of the devil himself? My deepest shame rests with the unspeakable number of podcasts I mainlined, the sheer volume of hours lost that I will never get back. A master's degree's worth of hours. I told myself it was research, that if I was going to understand her and her fellow travelers who are now in open warfare against objective reality, I had to immerse myself in the archive of several extremely prolific and editing-averse weekly and twice-weekly shows with names like QAnon Anonymous and Conspirituality that unpack and deconstruct the commingling worlds of conspiracy theories, wellness hucksters, and their various intersections with COVID-19 denial, anti-vaccine hysteria, and rising fascism. This on top of keeping up with the daily output from Bannon and Tucker Carlson, on whose shows Other Naomi had become a regular guest. This listening devoured nearly every interstitial moment in my life. Laundry folding, dishwasher unloading, dog walking, school drop-off driving, return only. In another life, many of these were pockets of time when I listened to music, or the actual news, or when I called people I love. I feel closer to the hosts of Conspirituality than to you, I whimpered one night into my best friend's voicemail. I told myself I had no choice, that this was not, in fact, an epically frivolous and narcissistic waste of my compressed writing time or of the compressed time on the clock of our fast-warming planet. I rationalized that Other Naomi, as one of the most effective creators and disseminators of misinformation and disinformation about many of our most urgent crises, and as someone who has seemingly helped inspire large numbers of people to take to the streets in rebellion against an almost wholly hallucinated tyranny, is at the nexus of several forces that, while ridiculous in the extreme, are nonetheless important, since the confusion they sow and the oxygen they absorb increasingly stand in the way of pretty much anything helpful or healthful that humans might at some point decide to accomplish together. Like grounding those spacefaring billionaires and using their ill-gotten wealth to pay for housing and health care and getting off fossil fuels before the future is one protracted heat dome. Or, more modestly, sending your shark-identified child to elementary school without fearing that they will come home with a highly contagious and potentially lethal virus that they contracted from a classmate whose parents believe that vaccines are part of a plot to commit genocide and enslave humanity because some lady on the internet named Naomi convinced them it was so. Doppelganger comes from German, combining doppel, double, with ganger, goer. Sometimes it's translated as double walker, and I can tell you that having a double walking around is a profoundly unsettling experience. Uncanny, a feeling Sigmund Freud described as that species of the frightening that goes back to what was once well known and had long been familiar, but is suddenly alien. The uncanniness provoked by doppelgangers is particularly acute because the thing that